Great. Today we'll be working with the basic position from standing position. I'll be looking at my opponent, which is Tito. For the position of his feet was where he's standing, where I could look for positions for opening shots, striking positions, or just getting him off balance so I can get shots from different positions. Today I'll be looking for is pretty much his stance and how position he's going to come out so I can have good shots. For setups, I'll look to circle my opponent as in from coming to positions for trying to get his hips square to mine. So he has a harder problem of sprawling, which we'll go on to later. But for right now, I'd like to work on an underhook position from him. As when we first tie up, I'll be looking for underhooking one side or the other. All right, from a wrestling position, some of the basic ways to get an easy underhook is I go to hook the head. I pull the head down. An automatic position most guys have is to raise their elbows up, trying to pull off or trying to pull me into them. Now when I go to underhook, the arm usually raises. I'll underhook to one side, and I'll pick up. I use my hips as kind of like a leverage point to pick him up and push him under. I'm trying to pop his hips up so he's off balance. Now from here, all I do is I just pull and circle one position. One more time. I look for a snap, for a head snap, and I underhook. If I get a good underhook position, there's lots of openings that I can get. My high crotch, there's a shot on each side because you have the side open. When I underhook, I circle him. I'll circle him to the opposite direction. I use this opposite hand on top of the shoulder to pull and underhook. And it's pretty much, I got him off balance. So I could open up different shots from there. That's one of the positions from an underhook position that I could use from. Another one is from a regular head tie. I want to look for always inside control. I don't want to be the outside because that sets him up for a shot on me. Underhook inside. There's a couple different positions that I could use from. A shuck. That's when the guy will get start pushing a little too much, and I'll just pop and push right by. When you get in a good tie-up position, a lot of guys like to hold and they want to pull and try to use their muscle from there. I'll just trying to get my shoulder on the inside, and I can work my underhook position from there. Both sides on underhooks. Or I could just shuck them. Or you can even peel off from the side, just so I can get out of position and circle out. And make sure at all times that when I do come in, there's positions where I don't want to be too close. You guys can grab my legs and pull me back. So my hips always want to be out on a pretty much comfortable position. As you can see, I have a kind of a stutter step where one leg's forward. I'm never straight leg forward. I don't want to be in that position. I always want to have good balance so when I'm moving, I'm pretty much always in good position. Now from here, if I move to circle him on any position, the guy usually step with me. So when I circle, he's going to circle too. The only reason that I use motion to circling and changing levels is to set up my position to take my shots or to work positions from underhooks, snap downs, things like that. Working with the collar tie, I'm going to show you guys just the different size positions, how I used to set up for a shuck by or a side duck. When I want to work for the position, it's hard for me to do it right off the bat. I'm not going to go because we're too straightforward. So I want to work to circle his feet to my right. This hand's forward, the collar tie hand. So if I go to shuck by, I'm pulling the head and pushing over, and I'll take I'd say about a half a foot step towards his foot. So when I step, I pull, push, and step. And you can see the position that he's in tight position right here. There's nowhere he can go. His hips are close to mine. They're not far away. So he has a chance to get out. I try to keep my body as tight as I can towards him. The same position, you can see the movement I use on my hand. This one steps over, I pull and circle and step. All it is, I'm barely changing levels. It's not like I'm gonna go for a shot and go. It's pretty much I'm using his resistance against mine. When I pull and he goes to push, I step and I circle, and I can come right behind. Lock to the waist, or other side chokes, or finishing takedowns. From here, if I go to collar to pull off the collar tie, I grab at the fingers. I try to grab all 4 fingers. I don't want to grab just one. If I grab just one, usually a referee or something safer trying to break one finger. So I try to grab all 4 at one time. And then at that time, I can snap and push away and come out on a good base. Good. For my underhook position, when I go to snap and I underhook, the same thing goes. I never want to be straight in front of them the whole time. I'm always working for a position, just trying to circle. And there's lots of shots, high crotch, knee taps, double legs that I can work from that position, which we'll be going on later on in our technique video. Okay, right now I want to work for openings and setups for my shot, as I'll be using for fakes. Like they say, for a shot by itself, I'm not going to boom, shoot a shot right off the bat. I want to get him faking and off his hips. So what I'll do is I'll fake, and get him with his hips coming out. I can work out lots of positions from, let's say, just from a basic shot as a double leg. One more time, I do not want to shoot with his hips square in front of me. I want to try to get an angle so I can get a clear shot so I'm not in bad position when I do shoot. So let's say I'm in off position. I'm a hand away from him where I can touch him. I'm not too far where I'm out here and I'm shooting out way too far. I'm close enough as where I can touch him in positions, collar tie. So I make sure I have a good position. Changing levels, I make sure when I do shoot is I'm not shooting straight down. I'm changing my levels down and across. So let's say, just for a basic shot, I change to the outside, change my levels. I'm making sure that my back's up straight, my back's not leaning forward, my back's up straight, and I can take my penetration shot. That's just working a position as using my level changes and my fakes. Because right out the bat, if I do a level change and a fake, I get him faking and he thinks I'm going to be on the offense the whole time. So it's pretty much he's on the defense. Going over the level change one more time, just position so you guys can understand the basic fundamentals of it, is my leading forward, my lead leg is my post leg. I never want to get my shoulder extended over it. So I pretty much want to feel like there's a pull going from my shoulder to the heel of my foot. So I always have good balance. At the change levels, the reason is so I can look for penetration shots. I'm not going to take a shot from here because I don't have as much coil on the end of my legs to take a shot forward. So if I get down, it's like pretty much a track runner. He'll come down, he'll go, ready, go. Exactly the same thing as shots. All I look for is a coil back my back leg. I change levels, and I can go forward from there. I use my back leg to push. From here, this back leg pushes, and I take off. And I make sure is when I shoot, I try to get it, I go down and then up. I never want to go straight down. Because the problem when I go straight down, my opponent has a chance of sprawling his legs back. So if I do take a shot down, I want to come up the whole time. Because most of the time, a lot of guys, when they do shoot, they shoot across. And I get caught too flat down. It's pretty much I'm just going straight to the bottom of the mat. So I want to keep on my feet at all times. That keeps him from working in snap down positions, which we'll go on later on. My hand positioning for my setups that I'll be working on, most people have right hand or orthodox stance, which my left leg will be forward, my right leg are back. And for some guys that are southpaw, their left leg forward and their right leg forward and their left leg back. Now positions I look for is using the hand that's over my knee as a block. For my position, I go orthodox style. I use my left hand to block for if a shot ever comes in. And this is my setup or fake hand. I snap fake positions. So I don't want to be outside with my hands. I don't want to be up high or too low. It's just a basic square. I try to be able to square with my hands. And I stayed in good position right here. Another thing is I try to not let my neck hang over too long. That's what I call the turtleneck. I let my neck squish in tight, so when guys try to snap my head down. Well, if I have a long neck, it's a lot easier, but if I have a turtleneck, I could always move his hand off and away because I keep my neck tight. So working with my hand position and my neck, stay in a good position at all times. I'm not too flat-footed. My back leg will always be in pretty much like a runner starter position. So I'm always on my toes, on my back foot, and a little flat-footed on my front foot, but I'm always in good position right here. That way I'm not reaching. Another problem is a lot of guys want to reach with both their hands trying to grab a hold of the wrestlers. They get taken down. You don't need to commit too much. If I stay in good position right here, I can circle and stalk my opponent from there. Like if I'm in this position, I don't want to be reaching out towards him. So I just use my foot and just come in a little bit. And I'm in good position right here. Okay, we have already went over our hand position, our head position, a stance. So now let's use as for our striking position, because most of the time I will not be in this position while I'm fighting. I use the same feet movement. I won't go stutter step and go to my opposite hand because I am right-handed. I shoot off my back right leg, so my stance is the same position as for my striking position. A lot of guys and wrestlers, they try to go from a wrestling position into a striking position. So you can tell when it's the difference when the guy's going to shoot on you or when he's going to strike with you. Me, so I make it easier, I just make it all one. I use my striking and my takedown position from the front leg. Now I'm using the same thing as my turtleneck, as keeping my chin tucked from my hands so I don't get strike. So when I come to this position, I have here, and I could always use my foot movement, changing levels, faking. So it's pretty much the basics things of wrestling, except I'm just using my hands and watching out for strikes, keeping them open, not letting my hands drop, keep my hands up. So I look for positions as from circling, right to left, keep my hands up, going forward, in and out. I try not to get too close to position. Tiki, come here. There's an area where I want to stay in. I don't want to be in the area for him to strike. I'm either outside of him or inside of him. Positions where I can strike to him and for him not to strike to me. That's from probably about this position, because he can probably strike and I can't. Some of the basic setups, as I use the same thing as my wrestling for fakes, is I can use the same things from strikes to set up the takedown. And that is as a jab. I use a jab just to pawn at his head, just to think that I'm going to start striking with him. And when I do that, I'll step forward and just throw a jab forward. I use other basic ones as a jab to a left hook. When I do that, I'm using turn and shoulder, full hip extension. I'm trying to roll my hip over so I'm not out just throwing everything out. That into a right hand, jab, hook to a right hand. I'm just trying to make sure that everything goes down in a perfect square in front of me. And I'll use that target as the bottom of his chin, like aimed towards his neck. So let's go ahead and I'll ask my partner to come over. I set up for a first shot. I say I jab. Automatically, his position was a back away and pull his hips forward. That's perfect position for me to go for a shot. So if I jab and he pulls away, I could go right from a shot right there. Same thing. If I jab to the right, I always got him faking back. So he's always looking for me to punch towards him. So that's the best position for me to go for a takedown. So let's say I jab, he was away, change levels, and go forward. I'm always in my stance, just keeping my feet in good position, changing my levels, and using the position as going forward. I'm not going down, I'm going at an angle, always up, down, and up. Some of the basic setups for a takedown when the guy is a striker, as a partner come on over. As the guy sets a position, I look for openings for me to take my shot. Most of the times when the guys go to throw a jab or right hand is the best time for me to go for a takedown, for double leg or single leg. Go ahead and throw a jab. A guy goes to throw a jab. There's an opening all right here. Step this way. This opening is pretty much my way to take a shot. If I look to take a shot from there, come back towards me. The guy goes to jab. I change my levels. There's my opening. It's wide open. Just like a wide open door, I walk right through. I can take him down from that position. A guy take a jab, I look. So all the time, like if a guy goes to throw punches, and he goes to throw punches, I'm not backing up. That's one of the worst things that a guy who will start fighting is learning. Wow, he's throwing punches at me, so I'm going to start backing up. I'm trying to get away from it. The best thing to do is when a guy does come forward, start striking, is I'm changing levels. That's one of the best things when I start changing levels, because he's already draped over me. All I have to do is take a half step forward and grab his legs, and I step across through. So when the guy comes forward and he goes to throw, all I have to do is change levels. On my feet, when I'm circled for position, is I want to make sure that my feet are always shoulder widths apart, planted. I have my front leg forward, exactly the same thing. A lot of guys that I do watch, when they do fight or wrestle, they want to stay flat-footed and walk forward. A lot of positions for me that makes me successful in no-holds-barred fighting is I move a lot. So when I move, I'm never crossing my feet, ever. My feet are always on the toes, and I'm circling the whole time. So when I move, I'm circling the whole time. And there's different positions that I'll circle towards for guys who are right-handed and guys who are left-handed. So for position as in wrestling, I'll be in my stance the whole time with my turtleneck, my hand blocking my knee, out posting, and I'm circling position the whole time. So I'm always moving. I'm never flat-footed. I'm never just standing right here because I have a chance for him to take me down, or if I'm punching, I have the same chance of him punching on me because I'm not moving. I'm just like a standing target for him. Go ahead and get my partner to come on in. My partner's a right-handed striker, so the position that I want to look for is circling to my right, staying away from his power hand. Because if I circle into his power hand, I'm going to get lit up, and I don't want to be in that position. That's a bad position for me. So I want to stay away from that right hand, so I'll circle to the left and try to get him on this angle, because that's where my right hand is. That's exactly the same difference as if I want to go circle to my right, I'm in his position of striking with his strong hand. So if I circle, I'm on my toes, and I'm circling, trying to get out of his position. I want to get out of the range of his right hand. So, in the same position, I'll take a small step with my right, lead with my left. So I pretty much want to stay to the outside of his leg. I come here, if I stay to the outside of his leg, there's a good position for me to strike from here, because he's off balance. Most of the time, guys will want to walk forward and trade from here. That's a bad position. I want to look for the angle that's going to make me a better striker in this position, and that's working to the outside. I always want to circle to the outside of his leading hand. I never want to circle towards the inside. Some of the basic drills that I could use to make my foot work a little better is I could use just by myself. I'd imagine another opponent in front of me, and I'll be always circling right. So I could always use my foot movement and always circle right. Or the opposite, if the guy's left-handed, always circle left. Now, if you watch my feet while I move, I make sure that my feet will never cross. I never step across my feet because it feels like I'm not as good as balance. So if I circle and I keep my feet always spread shoulder width, I'm always circling good position. Always circle good position. Imagine a guy in front of me. Now, I'm working a shot from, let's say, a fake. If I come right here, the guys think I'm a stand, all of a sudden I come down and change my levels. He goes, whoa, this guy's not going to strike with me. So different positions I can work as a drill is I come in, 1, 2, 3, 4, change levels, come back up, work the same position. Change levels, come back up, and I always keep my hands in good position, just so I can't get taken down and I won't get striked upon. Another way for me to work a better drill is actually having a partner with me to make it seem a lot realistic when I do it. So one of the drills, I actually do exactly the same thing, but I have my partner doing the same thing to me, so we have the same feeling of it. So when I come and I circle, I'm having the same position, and you fake on each other, and you're having the same position, coming out. Fake, coming out, fake, and it'll get you a little bit of timing and using the drill of having a partner and seeing how close you should be from when you're taking your shot or how far you are away from him. Another drill that I could use as a warm-up and also as just getting the feeling of a guy is what I use as a pummel drill. It's an over-under tie, where I let him have one arm under. On the opposite side, this arm's under. Now, what I do is I have my leg forward, then my arms over, and the underhook side. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna push away. I'm gonna try to get this arm underneath his arm, and I pop my head to the other side. So exactly the same position. I'm on the same side, but the opposite direction. My stance is the same thing, so all I do is just come right off the other side. And we just try to work with each other. You get used to using your hand movement. This is just used as a drill, so I get used to going under and over. So just in case in let's say, a position in the fight that I do get in that position, right here, if I work underneath and I got both underhooks, I'm in the dominant position right here. This position, so you get your hands used to, because a lot of people have problems doing is when they do it, they have a problem going under. They're like getting their chest too high away, their hips are too close, you get sucked under. So my butt is a little bit out, my stance still a little lower, and I'm just working on the inside. Just in this position. This is a drill that you can use to warm up, and a drill to get used to doing your underhook and overhook position. When I'm using my pummeling technique from drilling through it, when I'm in this position and I work my position, some of the best times that I could do to take him off balance was when I am doing this, is I circle to the outside and I'll pull. Circle, boom. He's off balance. There's no balance from him, I'm totally on balance. There's strikes I could use. I could throw him off his feet. So I'm just pretty much just looking for positions to get him off balance from using this position. I'm an over-under tie, we're pummeling. Even if both of us could do it, boom. I step, he's totally off balance. I use strikes from here, I can do throws from here, knees, there's lots of different strikes that I could use from here. And as him as a partner, he could do exactly the same thing. We're going to position. He got me off balance exactly the same way. So both of you guys can do it just so you guys can get your balance and to use it as good position. One of the first takedowns I'd like to show you guys is a single leg attack that I use in my fighting and in wrestling itself that works pretty well. It's a high level single. I look for a position. You guys know your stance, my position of my head. I always got my turtleneck, my hands are up in good position. And this is pretty much, I'd go a fake, I'll post, and go a fake to the outside. I'm gonna do a light step towards his right foot with my left foot. I'll do a light step towards, and all I do is I'll wrap. And when I wrap, I want to try to wrap towards his calf, because it makes everything from his hips so he can't sprawl. So when I do my fake, I'll step to the outside, just a little small baby step. I'm not stepping all the way to the outside. It's just a small step. I take a small step just to make my foot a little closer so I can go to his hip. My head will not want to be down. I want to try to keep my head as close to his ribs as I can. So when I do take my shot, my arm wraps down towards his leg. So when it's right here, I'm not going high up on the butt. It's just a high level single. This arm is my wrap. I try to pull, so he's kind of off balance. So when I do circle, I'm out to the side. I come here and I pull. I'm taking my baby step. I circle with my head. Try to keep my head right in the middle so I can't get choked or anything. And I'll just go to lock my hands right here. One more time. I change my levels, take a small baby step, and I shoot for his leg. I'm almost like shooting towards the outside, and I look to lock my hand. So when I'm shooting right to the outside, I'm looking to lock my hand. Now while I lock my hand, I try not to lock my hands here. This is pretty much, I call it Greco grip. I'll lock my hands to this position. So it's a lot harder for a guy to pull my hands out when I am shooting. He's trying to pull my arms, trying to get me extended. So when I wrap here, I'll lock my hands. You guys can see my hands right here. When I do lock, that's pretty much, I want to go over on top of one and my right hand under, because it makes it a lot stronger for me. Now one of the setups, I push, change my levels, go for a wrap, take my baby step, I'll lock my hands. So I'm right here in this position. My head's up high, as you can see. I don't have my head down because I don't want to be in that position. You can squash me from there, catch me in a choke or something. So I want to keep my head up high. Now all I'm going to do is I'll use my head as a lever, and I'll just do a shrug on his head, on his chest. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pull. It's basic. It's probably one of the basic singles that you can do. Once again, I got my pressure. I change my levels. Take it out to the outside. Keep my head up high. Lock my hands, my Greco grip. And I'm just going to try to use his hips to go over. I don't want to get, do a little small sprawl like over me. I don't want to be in this position right here. This is a bad position for me. That's why I keep my head up, and I'm always looking across. All I do is walk him right over. While I'm working my single leg takedowns, there's two sides I can attack. One of the sides that I was attacking in the very beginning is the outside leg, because I want to circle, pull, and circle and get him to the outside. Now, most of the basic thing is his forward leg, that's the closest leg to me. So I can shoot a single from that side. It's almost like a high crotch, but it's actually just exactly the same thing as a single. All I do is I fake, I let my outside leg lead forward, and the backhand will travel right after it. Boom. I'll just pretty much take a small step with my outside leg. So it's the same thing as I'm taking a baby step, but it was with my outside leg. So when I shoot, I'm stepping forward. Using my hand, my Greco grip lock, keep my head in good position. I'm always pretty much on an L position. I'm not like this. That's a no-no. I don't want to be like that. I always want to be in my stance at all times, no matter where I am. So, let's say I'm in the same position as I was. His left leg's forward. And all I'm going to do is just take a small step, have my level change, lock my hands to keep him from having his hips get back in front of me. I'm using my head as a head lever, and I just push. I push him right over. One more time for opposite side. Same thing. All I do is I change my levels, step a little forward. Bam. Now you see how I pretty much, this leg is replacing his leg. So I got pretty much all of his weight that's going behind him, and I'm pushing it forward. I use my head as a lever just to keep his hips off, because the worst I don't want is him being draped over me. I do not want this. This is bad. This is a bad position for me. Once I start my shot, I want to keep that position. I started my shot here, I want to keep that position right there. So all I do when I do press over, I can work from finish from there. Some of the problems that a lot of people have is when they do take shots. Go ahead. That's fine. Is when I do take shots, a guy gets a good shot and he's happy right here. He's all right. I have a good shot and I'm going to stop. Most of the guys don't make it a fluent motion. And I want to show you guys is keeping it as a fluent motion is just a takedown right to the finish. I'm not hitting the takedown and then finishing. It's making one fluent motion. So let's say if I hit my single, boom. I'm trying to work, keeping him off his hips. So when I do take a shot, I'm always walking forward. I'm trying to walk him forward and keep him off balance. So I'm not going, all right, I got a shot. And then try to work off of it. Try to make it one fluid motion where I just keep going with it and working for the finish. So I'm pretty much just trying to make it as one fluid motion. I'll do the same shot. And you can see how I'm pretty much almost jerking and pulling my head. Jerk and pull, jerk and pull. So it's one fluid motion. After we have showed the single leg, I'd like to go to a double leg takedown. One of my favorite shots in no holds barred fighting because it lessens the chance of me getting strike and a higher percentage of me taking down my opponent. Have my partner come on in. And the basic doubles, there's a couple different doubles that you can do, but one of the basic ones of staying in good position is I use a drop step with my back leg. On this position, I'm not gonna try to be on my knee when I take the shot. The only knee that's gonna touch is my back leg. It's exactly the same thing as a sprinter stance. I'm coiling up. I'm trying to bounce off this back leg, and I'll take my explosion shot. And once again, I'm not going down like this. I'm springing up and trying to explode over. And when I take my shot, I'm trying to spring down, then I just try to run right through him. I'm trying to sprint through his body and using this behind his thighs. Here, extend forward, and just drop him right through. I try to use it one fluid motion, exactly the same thing through the single. I use it one fluid motion. I'm not hitting the shot and then trying to extend over. So I'm right here, I change my levels, keep my head up in a turtleneck position, not keep my head down, my hands are out. I do not want to come in like this. No wide stance. Everything's inside here. I'm changing my levels and it's inside. One more time. I change my levels, get my back knee, take a little small step forward, my forward leg, extend forward, and just drive right over. So one more time. I come right to here, change my levels, this small front leg step forward, and I go right forward. I want to try to get my head right at his chest bone. That way so I don't get caught underneath. I do not want to go on the outside with my head. So when I shoot my shot, I don't want to be here. I get caught in the guillotine, and you don't want that happening. So I make sure that I kind of keep my head as high as I can on his chest. Change levels from right on top. It's exactly the same thing as when I'm changing levels. Use my drop step, step forward a little with my leg, and I'm trying to run through his hips. I run through his hips. One more time. I change my levels, use this back knee to touch. It's my load up knee to spring off of him, and I go forward and shoot through him. My head position, I make sure I want to try to keep it as high as I can on his chest so I don't get on the outside from a choke. Change my levels, take my small step. One of the third leg takedowns I like to go over is the high crotch position. Well, I've gone over the single and the double leg. So the high crotch position is exactly the same as the single, but I leave my head to the outside. But when I finish, it'll end up to a outside single, exactly the same position. So I do the setup, I got my setup, my level change, my feet are exactly the same position, but instead of reaching with my right hand, I'm gonna reach with my left hand and try to turn my shoulder to make it a longer extension for his leg. So I change my levels, I shoot out, step right to here, my leg steps to the outside, my head's in his ribs and up. I'm not down, I don't want to be down. My head's up to the side. And all I'm gonna do is when I step up with this leg, my back leg is gonna step up, and I'm going right to a single. One of the positions I just like to work the most to keep my head tight to here is to keep away from strikes and chokes. So if I did get down low in the position, he can catch me in a guillotine and work for a choke. It's a lot harder to do that if I'm up high. The guy tries to reach, and I can already change levels in the circle. So the most position you do not want to be is low. I don't want to be as low as much as I can try not to be in. So let's say I change my levels, I go forward, hit my high crotch, step, back leg steps up with me, and I change my head to the inside. One more time. change levels, hit my shot, step up. See how my head slips to the inside. So I don't want to try to keep my head to the outside, because there's different things that he could do to strike on me or to choke. Keep my head to the outside, and I do just pick. One more time. Change my levels, hit my shot, step up, and just pop my head to the outside. All I'm doing is just pretty much switching my whole body. When I step up, switch my whole body up to the opposite side. One more time. Change my levels, take my shot, come up the outside leg, switch in. You see how high I am up right here? All I'm doing is just picking up and using my head. As you guys know, is using the single leg, double leg, and high crotch. I want to look for repetition to make me as a better shot. It makes the shot a lot better. When I learn, as I say, just as basic thing, spelling, you guys go over the spelling over and over to make it in your head, so when you do it, it's the second sense when you do it. It's easy to do. So when I do a shot, I do it so many times, it just comes as a natural instinct. I know exactly when I hit the shot, boom, I'm changing off, or I'm pulling them down. My double leg, I'm driving all the way through. So just one basic position that I go through is always finishing my move when I do it. So when you guys are just drilling, you drill the move from the beginning to the end right every time. So when you do it, it comes at a second sense when you go through. While I'm working towards my takedowns, you guys always need a defense to learn how to stop the takedown from happening to you, because you're not going to be always the person on the offense. Once in a while, you'll get a guy who has a shot and will want to shoot on you. There's something to stop the takedowns, which I call a sprawl, and it's pretty much a basic move that everyone you'd use to stop the takedown. So a guy takes a shot, I had a position, guy takes a shot. There's two different ways that I've seen it done, and one of the best ways that I learned to do it was when I stopped the guy, is when I kick my leg back, the guy goes to shoot, I kick my leg back, and I get my hip down. I try to keep my hip down flat on top of him. There's other ways that guys, when they go to sprawl, they'll kick their legs back. But I see there's a problem because it takes too long for me to kick my legs back. By that time, the guy could drive into me. So all I do is I want to pop my hip straight where my foot was. So my leg will take a step back, and it will be flat. So all I'm doing is going, keep my hip down and flat. My back leg, I want to keep it flat to the mat, and I don't want to keep it posted. So I make sure, so when I sprawl, keep my hip down, my head up, my chest up, and my hips down. This back leg will be flat. Now as I work with my partner, he goes to take a shot. I keep my hip down, my legs flat, my hips are in, my chest is up. It keeps him from getting into me, and he gets stretched out. So all I do is I pop my hips, try to slide my legs back, and I just start circling. Keep my hips forward. Just go ahead and grab a single by itself. One more time on the same side, his head's on the inside. I catch him getting low, put my hip down. This leg will keep us a high post. I don't want to step up too high. And all I'm going to do is I'll slide my hip and cover the shoulder. One of the most positions I want to do is always keep his head trapped underneath my hips. If I don't, and he pops his head to the outside, oh, the other outside. This outside, all he does is change off, and I'll get taken down. Change off to the double. Now I get taken down. So I want to keep head control, always covering his head underneath. I keep his head covered, arm trapped. I don't want to get extended with my arms. That's coming under and locking. Do not do this. This is bad position. All I do is I come with my right hand over to the butt, cover his head, and keep this tight. And all I'm going to do is just pop my hips. And I get my leg back by popping my hips. One more time. Guy goes to take a shot. I get my hips back, the flat foot. See how my foot's flat? Because if I don't have my foot flat, and I have my toe up high, I'm going to come up. And he's going to have right position that he wants to take me down. Go back down. I'm driving into me. Now if I have my foot flat and he drives, I slide. It's just like sliding. Because I make sure is when my foot's flat, I'll slide flat. But when my foot's posted, all he's gonna do is just ladder me right up. So that's a bad position I don't want to be in. Take a shot to this side. I keep my hips down, his head covered, never let his head cover the outside. Even if I can cover it with my free hand, I'll push his head down and try to cover his head. Once I cover his head, I pop my hips forward, my chest high, and I try to get my legs back. This is a way to keep from his arms coming up high over my waist. All I do is use like a cobra. I call this a cobra because I keep my hands on the inside, right to here. I'm not reaching out high. Peek out, Tiki. If I do get my hands out high, we'll peek out like you sit. He comes to the outside. So that way I gotta make sure to keep his head in good position and make sure that he's always underneath me. So he's carrying my weight and spending as much energy as he can. Some of the drills that I could use for sprawling to make my timing a little better when the guy does shoot on me. I get my regular stance, and all I'm gonna do, I'll have another partner with me that maybe say sprawl. So as soon as he says sprawl, and come right back up to my position that I was. Maybe get a little foot movement into it, and he says sprawl. I sprawl and come right back up. This is a drill to help you with your foot movement to make it a lot easier. A lot of guys have a lot of problems sprawling because they go to sprawl and they go, well, I need to go over it repetition times as I do for a shot or anything else to make me better at it. So let's say I'm moving, sprawl, come right back up. And I'm making sure when I sprawl, my feet are coming back and my hips planting as hard as I can into the mat. My flat foot, that way so I can't get pushed up on my toes, so I just slide. Some of the drills that I could use with a partner is him faking while I'm in my wrestling stance, and he fakes. I go and wait for him to shoot. I just like sprawling. So I get the timing of I can see him going to lead, and I know when to sprawl. As soon as he leads, I stop, kick my leg back, try to keep him covered. So just as using, I'm kicking my leg back every time.